to come up with a vaccine, not just for coronavirus, but to help vaccinate kids around the world and solve all sorts of problems. So what we're trying to do is put that idealism and that mission to improve the world, to save kids, to encourage female education at the heart of UK foreign policy. And we're creating a new Whitehall super department that will actually, I think, enable us to express our views much more powerfully around the world. Would be good for development aid and good for the UK, and it's the right time to do it. Sam Coates, please, from Sky.
Thank you, Prime Minister. To Patrick Vallance and Peter Hornby, on democracy needs its own. How quickly can people in the NHS who are suffering breathing problems expect to get this treatment? Is there an expectation that it will be available pretty much now for anybody who needs it in the UK? And Prime Minister, we understand that this drug has been put on the government's export ban list, which means that companies can't buy it up and export it to other countries. On the day that you've given a speech about global Britain, that doesn't feel very global Britain to me. Can you explain the rationale behind that decision? And as part of your decision to merge the International Development Department and the Foreign Office, you seem to signal a very big shift in foreign policy, taking aid money away from Zambia and Tanzania and giving it to relatively rich countries like Ukraine. Can you just spell out a bit more of your thinking behind that surprise decision, and why was that now?
Well, first of all, on what you're saying about dexamethasone and the ban on exports, I'm not aware of that. Patrick, are you aware of any? I'll have to come back to you on that. Sam, but on your, it sounds. I mean, dexamethasone, as I understand it, is a drug that is produced around the world. I mean, and perhaps Peter and Patrick might like to comment on this, but it's produced very cheaply in India. It's produced in Thailand. It's produced. I think it was first identified in 1957. A steroid. So it's been around a long time. I'll have to come back to you on your suggestion that we've banned the export of dexamethasone. It sounds peculiar to me, but we'll certainly look into it. On your question about reprioritization of aid budgets, no, that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening. What we want to do is to make sure that we get better bang for our buck. The British taxpayer spends a huge amount on aid, and quite frankly, in my view, as somebody who observed things very close up, I'm a huge fan of what DFID has done. I'm a massive admirer of the dedication, idealism of our aid professionals. But what I want to see is greater integration of that passion and that commitment with our overall foreign policy objectives. And we can do that, and we can make much more difference around the world if we act as one global Britain with one focal point in the countries where we're represented, and we're represented obviously around the world, with the ambassador in that country leading and really conveying a single message from the United Kingdom about our priorities, whether it's female education or human rights or whatever it happens to be. And that is the way to get more bang for our buck. I passionately believe that it's the right thing to do, and this is the right time to do it. All the other countries are going this way, even if they previously had separate aid departments. They've been folding them in, and now is the time for us to create this really powerful, unified voice for international policy. I think there was a question for you, Patrick. Sorry.
And I'm bringing Peter as well. But I mean, the first thing to say is dexamethasone is inexpensive, very widely available.